Ole Miss, number 2 in the transfer portal, according to 24/7. But we're going to focus on retention on this little segment because the reality of what Ole Miss got to do didn't get publicized that much because 3 of the best players in college football at their position were very much transfer portal targets for essentially 2 months. And Ole Miss being able to retain those positions means that this season, with that transfer portal class, they have the talent that might even exceed the group that just made the playoffs.
It's certainly possible. To me, we have to get word on Trinidad Shamblas before I'm ready to go there. I do think there's something ironic, humorous, however you want to phrase it, that the number 1 portal class that I talked about on my Monday episode of Locked On College Football, Lane Kiffin. And number 2, the place that Lane Kiffin left. So everything that Lane Kiffin touches turns to gold in the portal, apparently. And the work that the Rebels have done has been really good. And I'll tell you, as an Oregon guy, Steven, by the way, you're talking about the Super Bowl on that FanDuel read. Go Hawks. Anyway, as an Oregon guy, I will tell you, Blake Purchase is a really nice pickup for the Rebels. I am a big fan. Purchase was going to start if either of Oregon's edges had declared for the draft. They both came back. Former 4-star recruit, has spent 3 years with the Ducks, has been a key contributor for 2, was kind of injured and then redshirted his second season. I like that pickup a lot. But, you know, I like when the spring football practice rolls around across the country, and I think it's Bill Connolly at ESPN comes out with his metrics for S&P Plus to rate the different teams. And one thing that he looks at that I pay attention to is returning production. Because in the transfer portal era, for guys like you and me and a lot of college football fans, very easy to get caught up on the new players that you bring in. It's just as important, unless you're Clemson and Dabo Swinney last year, who you bring back and the core of players, or Penn State as well, that you've got to build on from the season before. So I think that Ole Miss keeping these guys around is notable. I don't think they were, you know, throw in names that Lane Kiffin wanted to bring to LSU for all the portal wins that he's had, you know, Jordan Seaton being the most high profile one recently. There have also been some guys that Lane Kiffin has gone after who he hasn't wound up getting in the portal. Sam Leavitt was not their top option at the time that he committed, or the week before he committed, I should say, because they were trying to get Damon Williams from Washington. They were going after Brendan Sorsby from Cincinnati. They wound up with Sam Leavitt, who's really good. He's just coming off an injury, and I think that's about the only thing that could derail Lane Kiffin's 2026 season and bring joy to fans everywhere in the great city of Oxford, I would imagine. But yeah, what Pete Golding has done, and I will fully admit that I was hesitant to jump on board with him being the right head coaching hire. To this point, I don't know how much better things could be going. Obviously, he's got to put a full season together, but won a couple playoff games, darn near went to the national championship game, and then goes on the offseason trail with the quote-unquote portal king trying to bring most of your roster and staff over and to keep as many guys as he has, and potentially Shamblas if he gets the waiver approved. I think Pete Golding is off to a stellar start to his tenure in Oxford.
Yeah, he hasn't necessarily put a step wrong as far as the Ole Miss fans goes. He went well on his way to almost becoming a legend in 2 months' time in Oxford, Mississippi. And I get it. The schedule is going to be a little bit more difficult in the fall. But this team, according to Walker Jones, who's going to be on tomorrow's Locked On Ole Miss podcast, said this team could be more talented than the team that just went to the playoffs with what they brought in. And that's, you know, we talked about Joshua Dye, an 18-yard rusher in FCS, and everybody's going to say, well, that's
1,800.
yeah, 1,800-yard rusher.
18 yards wouldn't be that impressive.
Yeah.
Guy had this 18-yard run. I saw it all in that play.
It was awesome. It was amazing.
It was incredible.
Yeah, but he did that, and like everybody's going to say FCS, and I was like, well, Cody Schrader basically ripped the SEC apart, and he was D2 at Mizzou a couple of years ago, and you never know what to expect. Now, like I said,
Trinidad Shamblas was D2.
Yeah,
that's below FCS. By the way, I'm sure there are some D2 schools that can compete at the FCS level. I want to make that clear. I'm sure that can happen, but if you were just ranking the order of college football based on pedigree, it's Power 4, G6, FCS, and then D2 and D3, and then JUCO.
And the top of FCS can probably beat the bottom of D1. Or
yeah, they can.
FBS.
Yeah. Like Montana, I mean, they can't beat the top. You know, Montana State last year played at Oregon. They got walloped, and they were the national champions. But we have seen, you know, North Dakota State over the years, or South Dakota State, I think, beat Oklahoma State a few years ago. I think I'm remembering that correctly. You're correct, is what I'm trying to say.
It happens nearly every year.
Yeah, it does. It comes close to happening, and if North Dakota State jumped up into the Mountain West, I don't think they would, or the New World Pac-12, I should say. I don't think they'd win it. I think they'd be right in the center of it. They would not be at the bottom.
Well, if you want to look at it apples to apples, look at what James Madison did.
Yeah.
Two years to the college football playoff coming from FCS. I mean, they actually filed for a waiver to try to get into a bowl game their very first season in FBS.
They weren't allowed because of this dumb transition rule. They should have been allowed to compete in a bowl game. I think they were able to because some schools opted out of playing in a bowl game, and so the NCAA said, okay, JMU can play.
Yeah. Really interesting stuff. But the point of what we're talking about is Ole Miss is likely, you know, Trinidad Shamblas has his appeal meeting on Wednesday with the NCAA. That doesn't affect anything to do with court. That is with the NCAA, where they have one last opportunity to make this right before it gets handled in the legal system. But if Trinidad Shamblas gets this waiver, Kewan Lacey's back, Lucas Carnero, that is 3 positions to where they are arguably the best player in college football at their position. And that makes this football season even more intriguing, even though you look at September 19th in that game, that all you have to do is name get the date, and you know exactly what that game is. They play Georgia and Oxford. They play Missouri and Oxford. They go to Texas. They go to Florida. It's going to be a more difficult schedule, but whenever you have 3 positions that affect winning like those 3 positions do, got to be feeling pretty good about this fall.
Yeah, I think you do, and the schedule is definitely a challenge. By the way, I'll just throw this out there, though. If Shamblas is back, I think you'll be all right. If not, look out for Louisville week 1. Jeff Brom is a darn good football coach. He has been running a real solid program for the Cardinals over the last couple of years. Neutral site game in Tennessee. I don't know why.
Ole Miss fans like going to Nashville. They're going to Nashville twice next year.
Yeah, I don't know. Just make it a home and home. Play a game in Oxford. Play a game in Louisville. It's not rocket science, but apparently it is, because college football has done this for a long time. So, I mean, Nashville's a great city. Great city for sure. I'm not trying to dog on the city. I'm just saying I like playing games on campus. Call me crazy. So, yeah, Ole Miss will be very battle tested. It's pretty wild that we're sitting here recording this segment early February, Steven, and we're waiting on a national championship altering decision that is not being made on the football field.
Yep.
That's college football nowadays.
Yep.
I mean, that's how I view it. And I don't know if you're in that same boat. I don't think it's crazy to say Ole Miss, with that schedule, if you have Trinidad Shamblas, there's nobody on that schedule you can't beat. Yep. But tell me about the top 5. Tell me about the option at quarterback if Shamblas doesn't wind up winning the situation and getting to play. I mean, there's got to be a drop-off, right?
There is. It's Deuce Knight, the left-handed quarterback that was at Auburn last year. He will be the quarterback if for some reason Trinidad didn't make it in. But you're still dealing with a first-time starter, which the difference is with Trinidad, you're a top 5 team. without Trinidad, they're probably 20th in the country. So there is a drop off. But yeah, you're swimming in the deep waters if Trinidad Shamblas gets his waiver.
You are, though. Let me throw this out there. Olive branch to Ole Miss fans here as we wrap this up. What would you have said, or what would I have said, or anyone last year going into the season about the idea of surviving an injury to Austin Simmons?
Yeah.
I think the conversation very easily, and generally speaking, it would have been reasonable to say, well, you got a guy that came up from Ferris State as the backup, so I don't know if that's really going to be a dynamite option there. I mean, Deuce Knight's talent is off the charts. Sure, your right tackle has to become your left tackle and protect his blind side, but man, perhaps that system
last year.
Yeah, perhaps that system is just really tailor-made for quarterbacks to the point where I think the difference between those two, just off the top of my head, is Deuce Knight, regardless of the level of football, just hasn't played very much football, and Shamblas had. That does matter.
Mm-hmm.
And I think 100%. That would be the biggest concern, but I wouldn't write Ole Miss off into 5-7 oblivion if Shamblas gets denied and Deuce Knight winds up being the starter, because I've seen a proof of concept with Ole Miss over the last couple of years, and with Pete Golding being there without Lane Kiffin, that, yeah, they know what they're doing, and they do have weapons to surround him.
So, yeah, it should be pretty interesting. What do you got going on at Locked On College Football right now, man?
Man, all things transfer portal, fallout, off-season drama, Pac-12 against Mountain West. That's flaring up again, because why the heck not, as they try to figure out their media rights situation. All the biggest stories in the greatest sport on planet Earth all year round. That is how we roll over at Locked On College Football.
Yeah, and as an Ole Miss fan, I will say go Wazoo, because we are all Wazoo fans.
Yes, yeah, yes, indeed. I've got it in my notes to make sure I get a segment on Wazoo upcoming here, because they've got their third head coach in 3 years, and I think Wazoo could be. I think Kirby Moore could do very well in Pullman.